Hey guys, in this video let's see how to install the MotoTorque touring handlebar onto the Vstrom SX250. We'll start off by removing the OEM handlebar. Meanwhile, do subscribe to my channel. It motivates me to push more such DIY videos in the future. Start off by removing the left and the right mirrors. The mirrors are held onto by 14mm hex nuts, and you can use a 14mm open spanner to remove those. Next, we'll remove the LHS switch cover, which is held upon by these two screws. Proceed to remove them. Similarly, the RHS cover is held by these two screws. Remove them as well. After removing the bar end weights which are held upon by 5mm Allen screws, we can remove the LHS throttle grip. But the LHS throttle grip is usually stuck onto the OEM handlebar with some kind of a grip glue. This can prove to be quite an hassle to remove it. But we can overcome this by spraying some WD-40 between the gaps, thereby diluting the glue and making the removal easier. But I got a little lucky here. During my second service, the throttle grip was changed because it had cracked, and they had forgotten to put some kind of a glue or anything like that, thereby making my removal now quite easier. Guess this is a stroke of serendipity. If you have any other attachments onto the handlebar, do remove them. The clutch lever, which is held by a clamp onto the handlebar, can be removed with a 8mm spanner. Similarly, on the right hand side, the master cylinder for the front brakes is held by two 8mm screws. Remove them as well. It's time to move on to the handlebar clamp. This clamp is usually held by 4 Allen screws, but prior to removal, it's better that you lay some kind of a cloth onto the tank so that when the bolts are loosened, the handlebar, if any case, falls onto the tank, it doesn't scratch it. These bolts are highly torqued. If you're not able to lose them, we can use physics to loosen them up. How? Torque is just force into radius. If you can't apply more force, increase the radius. Here, I'm just attaching a screwdriver to the Allen key, thereby increasing the length, and now the torque can be sufficiently increased by applying a small amount of force. You can do something similar if you're facing the same issue. After these steps, the OEM handlebar comes out quite easily. Here I've kept the OEM handlebar on the MotoTorque one. You can clearly see there is not that much of a height difference between them, but lengthwise the MotoTorque handlebar is increased by somewhat an inch on either ends. But the angle of the grip position is quite different between the OEM and the MotoTorque one. Can't comment much on it now. Let's see how it goes after I install it. One thing to notice is that the MotoTorque handlebar is slightly larger in diameter compared to the original one, maybe in 0.2 to 0.3 mm, which usually happens during manufacturing. But that actually causes a problem while installing the clutch lever, because the clearance in the clutch lever clamp is quite small. So we can increase it somewhat by wedging a screwdriver within the gap and then turning it so that we can increase the gap. You can also spray some WD-40 to act as a lubricating agent. Slide the new handlebar completely into the throttle grip. Then proceed to fix the LHS clamp. But as I said earlier, because the clearance is small, you might face some difficulty like I'm facing here. But you can use a rubber mallet to encourage the clamp to glide onto the bar. But be careful, you don't want to damage the clamp. Once that's done, we can install the handlebar clamp. You don't want to tighten it completely because eventually you would need to adjust the handlebar to your suiting, so it's better to keep them loose for now. The LHS switch case has this kind of a plastic thing which guides the screws into its position. don't forget to put this in. There's a small extrusion on the switch case which sits nicely onto the hole which is there on the MotoTorque handlebar. So that acts kind of a alignment point for us to fix it in. Here's the same for the switch case on the RHS side. This is the extrusion I'm talking about. Align the RHS switch case and you can tighten it up. Prior to installing the grip, I'm just trying to increase the diameter of the OEM handlebar by adding a couple of layers of some PVC tape so that the fit is snug. I'm avoiding using any kind of a grip glue, but you can use if you want. The brake lever clamp, which sits on the RHS side, has an arrow mark pointing which direction it should be placed while installing. So make sure that you place it in the right direction and then fix in the clamps. To tighten the handlebar clamp, first torque in completely the upper two bolts. Only then proceed to the lower ones. Here I have a pic comparing how it looks. Usually the upper bolt is completely sits flush with the casing below, but the lower one has some gap. This is fine. Before tightening the clutch lever, make sure that you adjust it to your preference. There's a good Revzilla video covering the basics of adjustment. I will link it in the description, do check it out. Fix your mirrors and your knuckle guards and that's it, you're done. But wait, still one thing missing, the bar end weights. Here is where I hit an issue. On the right hand side, the bar end weights fits so snugly that it restricts the motion of the throttle. It acts kind of like one of those friction based cruise controls that you get, like this Pro Spec Easy Cruise, I believe. I'm not sure if this is one of those.
It's a feature, not a bug
Situation, but personally I did not like this feel. But the fix is quite simple. You can add a couple of brass washers, which are quite thin, between the handlebar and the bar end weights, which can allow the throttle to move freely. After installation, I took out the bike for a spin. During light off-roading, I noticed that I could saddle quite easily, but relatively, if you ask me, I did not see that much of a difference. If you're particularly looking for a taller handlebar, this is not the one, look elsewhere, or you can install one of those handlebar risers. There are no additional induced vibrations or any wobbling from this new handlebar. So finally the question is, to whom does this handlebar suit? It definitely doesn't suit you if you're looking for something to increase the height, but I should say the sitting position is quite comfortable and I believe the ergonomics has improved. I'll add the pros and cons after riding a little more. That's it for this video guys. Do like, subscribe and comment if you have any questions. Thank you.